What's up guys, Brian here, and today I want to talk about crying and grief and men expressing emotions. Before I get started, yes, I do have this little wrist brace, everything's fine. I just been clicking the mouse a little bit too much, doing a little bit too much video editing, and so gotta wear this guy, take it a little bit easier, try and get this guy healed up. But nothing seriously wrong, so all good. Let's get into talking about grief. This isn't necessarily specifically related to Christianity, but it certainly can be. In particularly US culture, Western culture, men are not typically encouraged to express emotions, particularly like sadness and grief and weakness. It tends to be, stop being a little pussy or stop being a little bitch, kind of thing. We get that pretty early on. I'm somebody who tends to be more emotive, but even I don't typically cry, like really cry. There might be like, maybe I'm watching a sad movie, or I'll see some really sad news or something like that, or it'll come to the anniversary of like the death of my father, for example, which is actually coming up tomorrow, which is one of the things that prompted me to record this video. Typically I'm not like full on like sobbing, not able to stop, just like full on emotion, snot running down my face, all that kind of stuff. Like that's just not how I am. I can't do it. I'd love in some ways to be an easier crier. I think that that would be wonderful. But I did have an experience a few days ago where for the first time in like 5 years, I have full on cried. Some really bad stuff was happening with a friend. It looked like we were going to lose them. They're still recovering. It could still go either way, but as of now, they're a little more stable. But things were looking really, really bad, and they're a very, very, very close friend. And I was really scared, like that they were gonna die. And I was just thinking about all the things that I wished that I'd said and done, and was talking to another friend about it and just like started completely losing it. And that is a very, very rare thing for me, but it felt really good when it was done. Like, it was honestly weird to say, but it was a little scary, like not being able to stop, because I'm used to, you got like the 1 or 2 tears going, and then like that's it, and you're like, okay, I'm in control now, I've got it, we're good, it's all good now. I'm a man, I don't cry that much. I shed a tear and that's it. So that was interesting. But really, like, the last 2 times I can remember like myself crying like at that uncontrollable level was, the day before my dad passed away, finding out that it wasn't gonna be long, when my dad actually passed away on that day, and then when my dog passed away a couple years after that. Pretty much animals or very, very people that I'm very, very close to passing away are the only times that I'll cry. And they have to be like really, really close to me. Like my own grandma passed away a few months ago. I did not cry at all. Weird, I know. I feel like it's not normal, not healthy to not cry very much. But really, like, that is the culture that we tend to grow up in, and it tends to make a lot of us men emotionally less available. A lot of the emotion we learn to express to kind of suppress that sadness is anger. I do that a lot. I don't necessarily seem like an angry person, but if things are going really badly, sometimes I can just get very, very angry. Leave it, Allie. You leave it, sweetheart. So it's really, really interesting just to reflect on that and reflect on how difficult it is to make me cry, how absolutely nearly impossible it feels for me to be able to express emotion in kind of a positive, I won't say positive, but like in a positive way, like a healthy way. Like, it's healthy to cry. It releases a lot of, chemicals, endorphins, I can't remember all the chemicals off the top of my head, but a lot of stuff to help you feel better, to help you like move through your emotions. And if you can't like process through sadness, you're going to just like be stuffing, and it's going to come out, as anger, as rage, all these other less healthy emotions that end up hurting other people versus like processing through your grief and feeling that grief and allowing yourself to get through it, feel better. And we see this like so common, like men just don't deal with our emotions because we're taught not to deal with our emotions. We're taught, yeah, let's just not express that, let's not feel that, let's not deal with it, basically like shove it down. And the truth is you can't shove down the emotion forever. Like it's going to come out in some way or another, and if it's not in a healthy way, it's definitely going to be in a much more explosive, aggressive way as men. You know, maybe women too, but I can speak for myself, I can speak for a lot more men. I think it's a beautiful thing when men are able to be a lot more emotionally open, when men are just able to cry, just like openly cry, watching a movie, things like that. I sort of have this reflex in me that when I feel like I'm starting to cry, starting to get that lump in my throat, starting to feel like my eyes kind of watering, of like shoving that down and stopping that and kind of putting a lid on it. And that's something I would love to learn to not do. I'd love to learn to just be able to healthily express emotion, healthily cry without it having to be a cataclysmic, like life or death kind of event that just has to break the dam of years and years of feeling. And you know, like in that experience a few days ago of just like completely losing it, like uncontrollable sobbing for, I'm talking like 30 minutes, you know, I'm very aware that there was a lot more than just thinking that the one friend was going to die. You know, I was revisiting my father's passing away, you know, pets that I've lost, all of the horrible things that have happened in Ukraine that I've been experiencing for a year and a half of, you know, kind of living through day after day, wondering if people that I know are going to survive or not, seeing horrible atrocities day after day after day, and really only processing that as anger and fight and not processing it in like a deep way as sadness. I'd just like encourage guys, if you can, like let yourselves feel the sad, let yourselves go there. You know, if you're not comfortable crying in front of anybody, see if you can find a place where you can just let loose, like by yourself, where you know you're not going to be interrupted, where you don't have to worry about being judged. Just like let it happen. I know it can't always be controlled because, again, like you just can't necessarily control when it happens. You know, like if I had my way, I would not have like burst into tears at that point a few days ago. I would not, like when a pet passes away, I would, you know, generally much prefer not to just be sobbing for a long time. Or, you know, when my father passed away, that made sense, you know, but there's still that part of me that's like a little embarrassed about crying and feeling emotion so deeply, which, you know, I don't need to be. That's the crazy thing, is I don't need to feel that way, but just because it's been so programmed in society, maybe even like Christian culture, certainly sort of the manly man Christian culture, it's definitely not something that's encouraged to do, kind of that I'm a Christian warrior for Jesus, or even just society in general trying to be like the man's man, and the folks who are not, who are like, oh, you know, the younger generation, such pussies, such little bitches, you know, whatever kind of things they have to say. You know, the generation who's like, you know, and people who are like, men who cry are little bitches and stuff like that, you know, that's not healthy. Because even though I consider myself, you know, fairly enlightened and aware that that's not necessarily great and healthy, I still find myself kind of living that out in a way of not being able to express that emotion. Gentlemen, leave a comment below letting me know if you have trouble crying, if you're able to really express yourself, if you're able to express your emotions in a healthy way. And women, let me know, would you prefer, you know, men who kind of stuff it down? Do you think men who cry are weak, or do you think that they are stronger because they can express their emotions? I would love to hear your perspectives, and have a fantastic day. And if you enjoyed this video, consider liking and subscribing.